Hey everyone, welcome back. And today I'm going to be doing what if World War II decides, wait, no, not decides, happens in 2025. So, unlike the last video, I had no idea how World War One was played out. So, but with World War II, I have more knowledge in that. So, I guess this one will be a little bit better than the last one. So, here we see the first thing that Germany does is annex all of Austria, and then they go over to the Czech Republic requesting for their Sudetenland. So that's gonna be happened in Munich. I think that's how it's pronounced. I don't know, but with France and the UK deciding to give over some land of the Sudetenland to the Czech Republic, and then yeah, they're pretty much already weakened, and then so the Germans sees this, and then eventually they declare war on the Czech Republic. And then, with the troops already storming in, yeah, pretty much Prague is captured, and then, yeah. And then, since they're there, might as well declare war on Slovakia, just like Czechoslovakia. So eventually, their capital is captured, and then, yeah, Slovakia surrenders. So, France and the UK are angered about this, but they do nothing. So, let's look at the peace treaty. So here's the peace treaty. We see that Germany has fully annexed the Czech Republic and turned Slovakia into a puppet state. So here we see that they declare war on Poland, and then France and the UK declare war on Germany. And then we see some allies of Germany, which is Italy. Okay, so Italy, and we also see Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria, and Japan. So, yeah, I guess Japan now annexes the Korean Peninsula and is now fighting with China. Okay, so I guess since that's happening, we see that, yeah, I guess Russia also declared war on Poland. And some of y'all might be asking, how is that going to be possible if they don't even border each other? Yeah, let's just say they annex all of Belarus, and then they are able to storm into Poland with the help of the Belarusians. And then the Polish War begins. So, as the Russians start to storming into Poland, they're able to capture major cities and then connecting up with Kaliningrad. And then, yeah, eventually that happened, and then the Germans start coming in soon capturing all of their coasts and then closing in, and then eventually with both fronts Poland surrenders. So let's look at the peace treaty. So here's the peace treaty. We see Germany annexing the majority of Poland while turning the rest into a puppet state, while Russia uh, annexes a little bit of Poland and now is connected with Kaliningrad. So the Baltic sees this, and then they request to be annexed. So with the annexation of Lithuania, and then eventually there goes Latvia, and then Estonia. So with these three now being annexed, we see kinda the Soviet Union being formed, except missing Ukraine, Moldova, Caucasus, and Central Asia. So the next thing what Germany does is that they go over to Denmark. So with the invasion into Denmark, yeah, they they weren't fully prepared. So with the invasion, yeah, they're already gone. So, and then eventually they go into Norway, capturing Oslo, and then the Allies were trying to go up into Norway, but then eventually the Germans were able to take it. And then eventually Norway is now German. So with the Swedish and with Norway now pumping gas into Germany, we see both of Norway and Sweden turn into puppet states. And then eventually Germany decides to go over to the Benelux, and then soon starts the invasion into France. And then eventually, yeah, before that, yeah, they fought through the Benelux, and then before they could even do anything, they fall. And then the start into France begins. So, yeah, with them already capturing Paris, they're able to make the French troops fall back, and then eventually France surrenders. So let's look at the peace treaty. So here's the peace treaty. We see the Benelux being turned into puppet states, or you know what? Let's just have them annexed. Even though they're not like under full control, they're still under German control. So let's just color all of this in, like, say all of this territory was annexed by Germany. So with Germany now annexing it all, and I think I might have gave him a little bit too much territory in Poland. So that part goes over to Russia, and then this whole entire part of Slovakia, and then the Benelux and France. Yeah, that's now German. It's under occupation of Germany, but in this map, we'll do it for annexation. So here's the map of Germany right now, even in Norway. So Italy tries to invade Albania, which they're able to do. They now invade Albania, and then they declare war on Greece, thinking that it'll be easy, but then eventually they realize that's more harder. So they go over to Germany and their allies requesting for some aid. So with them going through here, they could. I mean, that's more easy, but why not make more casualties? Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia, Serbia, Montenegro, Kosovo, and North Macedonia. So yeah, with all of them, yeah, they pretty much fall. And then we see Greece pretty much already destroyed. So with Greece now gone, yeah, let's look into peace treaty. So here's the peace treaty. I'm not positive this is correct, but so we see that so Croatia and Serbia has been replaced by any Axis government, and Slovenia was annexed, and Italy now has this part. Bulgaria has a little bit of territory, so does Romania, and yeah, pretty much that happens. And then we see Germany now launching Operation Barbarossa, and then which is Germany invading the Soviet Union, or in this case, Russia. So here we see that that Russia isn't prepared, and then they're pretty much like, yeah, they get pretty invaded. So yeah, and then yeah, pretty much they get St. Petersburg, and then they start going down to the valuable area, and then they manage to get here. Soon it's stalemated, but then eventually they're able to threaten Moscow even more. Soon, kind of doing like a spearhead, but then eventually Japan decides to send some atomic bombs over to Pearl Harbor, and then eventually that made the US join the war. So, with the US now declaring war on Japan, we see that Germany is now deciding to declare war on the States. and in which made its allies also declare war on the states. So, with this now happening, yeah, basically the Russian winter sets in, and then they're able to push back the Germans by a lot. And then eventually St. Petersburg is liberated, and Finland also joined the war, but let's just say that they didn't in for right now, since yeah, we're pretty much past that. So with the uh this returning back, we see that the Estonian, Latvian, and Lithuanian territories were liberated, and then we see any invasion into Sicily, and then they start to go up. And then with that, we also see that northern France is getting invaded, and then Sardinia is captured. And then we also see that by at this point, Italy betrays Germany, and now they're with the Allies, and then which makes Germany invade the rest of Italy. And then we see some pushback in the Allies, but that's into a stalemate. And then eventually they're able to advance more into France, and then going into Vichy France, soon liberating it. And then they start to pushing more, going into the Benelux, and then some landings in the Allies. I mean, by the Allies happens in the Balkans, soon capturing this, and then pushing the Germans out of Italy. And then we see the Russians coming in, and then we also see that Norway is liberated by the Allies, and so is Denmark. So with that, Germany now having to fight a lot of fronts, yeah, pretty much Germany is destroyed, Berlin is captured. As for Japan, Korea is captured, and then eventually the Americans come with some atomic bombs. One lands in Hiroshima, and then a few days later, Nagasaki. And then eventually, Japan decides to surrender over to the States. And then with that, the World War is now over. So with that, let's look at the peace treaty. So here's the peace treaty. We see Germany being carved up into four, and we also see, so first we have the British occupation zone, and then we have the French occupation zone, the American, and then Russia. And then we have Berlin here being separated into four, and then over here, eventually, Japan is turned into an occupation by the Americans, and then eventually years go by, and then eventually the UK, France, and America unite their occupation zones into West Germany, and now it's just West and East Germany, and then eventually the Berlin Wall fall, and then eventually Germany is now reunited, and then Japan is now independent once again, not American, not anywhere else. And then the Korean War sparked, and then South Korea almost lost, North Korea almost lost, and then they're back and forth, and then once again they're separated. People thought that now the Korean Peninsula would now be unified under one, since it's now the modern day, and Japan unified it under its rule, but I guess it's now separated again. So, and nothing happened to China. No Chinese Civil War again with Taiwan, or again with China. Russia collapsed with the Baltics and Belarus, making them independent once again, going back to the modern day borders. And yeah, every country is released. Nothing happened in Africa. And I guess that's all. So hopefully y'all like the video, and I'll see you on the next one.